everybody, I'm Kimberly Turner from cookingwithkimberly.com, and tonight I'm going to show you a really super interesting recipe for a vegan tiger nut and pumpkin gnocchi and a tomato and zucchini sauce for pasta. So first things first, you're probably wondering, what the heck are tiger nuts? Well, if you've never seen a tiger nut before, here they are. And guess what? They're not actually nuts. They are tubers. They grow under the ground, very similarly to potatoes or carrots or parsnips. And these are the peeled variety. The unpeeled have like a reddish skin on them. I love these things. They are a wonderful texture. They have, once they're soaked overnight, they're a really great snack, just like this. But they have a really great texture of something like fresh coconut, coconut flesh. And the dried ones are like the dried coconut, like much harder. But they have a natural sweetness and a deliciousness that's gonna go perfectly with pumpkin as well. So the recipe tonight is vegetarian, it's vegan, it's paleo friendly, and it's gluten-free, etc. A tiger nut flour I've got, which I'm using. You can check them out online at tigernutsusa.com for amazing Tiger Nuts products. This is their flour, the organic flour, and they've got a beautiful raw organic premium Tiger Nuts oil that I'm going to be using tonight for my sauce as well. And they also have smoothie mix and the peeled nuts and the unpeeled nuts. They're amazing. But tonight we're going to use the flour, and you're going to see it's a great resealable plastic bag, which makes me happy. But that's what the flour looks like. It's very similar in texture as whole wheat flour would be. I've sifted this, and it sifts well. You're gonna have a little bit of the stuff sticking behind, which is just like when you were sifting whole wheat flour and you'll get some extra bran. No problem. I just wanted to lighten this up a little bit. I have pumpkin. Now, you have some options with pumpkin. I've roasted this. This is our own. We grew it. We just roasted it the other day, and now I'm using it we've cooked it down into sort of like a puree. So what I did is I grabbed 1.5 cups of it, put it in a strainer, and let all the extra liquid drain out of it. You want this to be nice and dry because you don't want wet gnocchi. You don't want wet, gloppy mess. I'm also going eggless tonight, so this is vegan, no eggs. If you wanted to, you could use aquafaba. If you've never heard of aquafaba, it's the liquid that comes out of the can, the jar can of chickpeas. Buy chickpeas at the store. Keep that liquid. It is like liquid gold. It has so many uses and purposes, and it's a really great thing to mix into things, even if they're savory or sweet, okay? Aquafaba can work like a binder, but tonight I'm going eggless, I'm going aquafaba-less. We don't need any of it. We're just going to go straight gnocchi. I love gnocchi. It's one of my very favorite pasta dishes. Traditionally made with potato, mashed potato, or riced potato. Works wonderfully with other kinds of vegetables like that. Squashes, and it works wonderful with roasted carrots or anything like that. I've done gnocchi in a variety of flavors. Even beets work wonderfully. So here's my 1.5 cups of pumpkin that I've already done. The zucchini and the tomato, that's gonna be for later's pasta sauce. Let's get started here. I'm gonna use my bench. If you wanted to use a cutting board or a pastry sheet or whatever the heck you wanna do, go ahead and do that. I am going to mix everything right here, and then I'm going to roll everything out right here as well. Make sure your bench is clean. So I'm gonna start with about a cup's worth of tiger nut flour. Now I'm gonna need a little bit extra, and this is kind of a recipe that requires a little bit of eyeballing, and that's okay. Every day is different that you mix things. The atmosphere and the moisture in the air is going to affect everything. So every kind of recipe that you could even imagine is going to require a little bit of eyeballing. So that's what we're doing. And I love rustic things like this, so you can kind of get a feel for it. Tiger nut flour is very absorbent, so it's going to help soak up any of that extra liquid from the pumpkin as well. All right, so in goes the pumpkin. Very few ingredients. This is gonna be easy. A little bit of salt. If you wanted to go a little bit spicy with this and do a different kind of sauce, maybe a creamy butter sauce, and you could add cinnamon to this even, or nutmeg, or allspice, or cloves, whatever you like that goes with this. Even ginger would be nice. I have some freshly ground black pepper, and that goes. I like things spicy. In a large frying pan, I have some tiger nut oil. I'm going to tell you about this oil. It's amazing. Now this is the first press of tiger nuts. Now this is the first press extra virgin oil, which means it's the very first pressing. It's the most pure pressing. And it is really, really lovely flavor, very mild and neutral. You can use it for a wide variety of things. You can cook with it. It doesn't have a problem with smoke point. So this is really, really a handy oil to have. Again, it's nut-free, it's gluten-free, paleo, the whole 9 yards, okay? Nut-free is a great thing for people who have those allergies, right? All right, so we've got this on our counter, and what we're gonna do is just start combining it. And I wanna sort of knead this dough to kind of develop the texture, okay? So get them just going. You want that pumpkin to be cool. If you've been cooking it before this, you want it to be cool to touch and to deal with. All right, and you're gonna feel whether it's too moist or not. And I'm going to have to add the extra bit of flour. So I'm looking at probably 1.5 cups of flour, but we will see. You wanna keep your bench a little bit floured with the flour so that things don't stick, okay? So just work your way through. You don't wanna really overwork this, but you do wanna make sure that it is completely combined well. A little bit more flour, I think. So these are basically a potato dumpling, an Italian potato-y dumpling, and these are gonna be a pumpkin dumpling now. And tiger nuts, I guess you have to add that. You want it to be something that you can work with. You don't want it to be moist to touch, you want it to be somewhat dry to touch. This might need a little bit more flour, and you're gonna be able to tell that by just touching it, okay? It's just a little bit wet. More flour. Okay, this looks really good. I'm going to kind of just let this sit for maybe 10 minutes just to kind of absorb the flour. Now I've used roughly 2 cups, I would say, altogether. Now it's going to depend, again, upon the moisture in your pumpkin and the moisture in the air and stuff. So here's my little round disc of the pumpkin tiger nut dough for the gnocchi. And I'm just going to let that sit again. Now you're going to see, you're gonna touch it, it doesn't feel wet, moist, okay? But it's not too dry that when you pick a piece of it, it's gonna just crumble apart. It's a delicate balance between too wet, sticking to the counter, and too dry, crumbling apart. So somewhere in between there is what you want. I'm gonna let this just sit, absorb that liquid for a little while longer, and then I'm gonna roll these out and get your frying pan ready, okay? Preheat that with about 2 tablespoons of tiger nut oil, okay? Lovely. So while we're waiting for our dough to just sit and absorb the rest of that water, I'm gonna get our pasta sauce prepared. So I've got some vegetable. I'm just doing very simple kind of vegetable, primavera-ish style. If you had mushrooms, it'd be great. I've got some tomatoes, zucchini, and I've got some carrot tonight. Herbs we're gonna put in there, and a little bit of seasoning, all as well. In my frying pan on my stovetop, a large frying pan, I've got 2 tablespoons of the tiger nut oil. Now, if you wanted to just use olive oil, feel free to do that. It's all you. But tonight we're kind of just doing a tiger nutty sort of theme, and this is a great oil to use for this. So let's get our carrot grated. I'm just going to use a box grater and fresh carrot. You don't even have to peel it, just wash it. I'm going to add a little bit extra veg and some extra healthy, nutritious ingredients and make it a little bit more well-rounded than just zucchini and tomato. So although it's called zucchini and tomato, you're still going to add a lot more flavors behind it to kind of support those main characters. Okay, I've used maybe 1/2 of a large carrot. And we're gonna saute that alongside our zucchini to get started. Carrot's ready. You can use onion and garlic if you like. Not everyone in my household enjoys onion and garlic. Not everyone can handle that. So that's no problem. You don't have to do that. But if you want to, you can add it. I would add 1/2 of an onion and maybe 1 or 2 whole cloves of garlic. So I'm gonna use probably 1/2 of this zucchini. I'm not going to peel it because it has great nutrients in here, but I am going to cut it into tiny chunks. If you wanted to grate it alongside the carrot, feel free to do that. That's awesome. Save yourself some time. But here we go. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to slice these guys lengthwise down into quarters, and then I'm going to chop them into chunks, okay? Nice big chunk. I want to saute these up a little bit before we add the carrot. The beauty of this sauce is that you can mix and match any of these characters, okay? Into my hot frying pan goes my zucchini. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Now I like things spicy. We're gonna add some red chili flake to this sauce. Maybe a half a teaspoon. According to your own taste though. Get yourself a pinch of salt. Unless you're on the paleo diet, don't add salt. You're gonna have to re-season at the end because we're gonna add a lot of ingredients here too. Toss these guys up. Get them just a little bit tender before we add these finely grated carrots. I'm going to use 1 fresh tomato, and I'm going to use a whole can of whole tomatoes as well. Feel free to use whatever tomato product you have on hand and you guys enjoy. I'm just going to give that a fine chop. That's going to go in after these veggies, these harder veggies. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is kind of a beautiful rustic dish in its entirety. Any kind of Italian seasonings would go here. Oregano, basil, thyme, parsley, of course. You could add chives to this. You could add shallots to this if you didn't want to use onion. Scapes would be a beautiful place to use scapes here. Wow. And they're almost up in the garden. Toss these up. Look at all these bright colors. A little bit of freshly ground pepper. All right, in go my carrots. You want to just develop a little bit of the sugars in here. Caramelize things up a tiny bit before you add all those tomatoes. You can add it all together at one time and combine it, and that's no problem. It would simmer and be absolutely delicious. But this is a nice way to add just a little bit extra flavor. Really squeeze it out of your ingredients. Stir that through. Carrots are high in fiber. They're high in beta carotene. This is jam-packed with goodness.
Carrots have so much flavor.
Sure do. Nice sweetness. It's going to pair really well off this pumpkin and tiger nut gnocchi. I'm going to add my fresh tomatoes first, nicely chopped up. Feel free to add peppers, whatever you have on hand, whatever you like. All right, I'm going to add a little bit of tomato paste. You can use sun-dried tomato paste if you like. I'm going to add about a heaping teaspoon, giant heaping teaspoon. It's going to help thicken your sauce as well. Look at this. The smell. Ooh, when you add that tomato paste, boy, it really makes it homey in here. Now I add my tomato paste now with the veggies so that it can kind of develop flavor. It already has a nice sweetness. Tomatoes have great sugar content. And when you put them in the pan like that, they kind of caramelize up too. It's going to really just make everything so much tastier even. If you see it starting to brown on the bottom, no problem. Let me show you how to fix that. All right, splash of wine. We're gonna deglaze the bottom of the pan. Any brown bits are gonna go right into this gorgeous sauce. It's exactly what you want. Use, I don't know, a nice swig like that, however much you like. Don't worry, the alcohol's gonna burn off. It's not gonna be full of alcohol. The alcohol dissipates. It just leaves behind the beautiful flavor of the grape. Stir that through. Scrape the bottom if you need to. And now I'm going to add 1 large can of tomatoes. Now they're whole. I'm going to squeeze them in with my hands. Just kind of squish them. You can do however you like, but that's how I do it. That's how my mom did it. So get them in there. Don't be afraid. Get your hands in there. That's the beauty of cooking. Squeeze them in. Try not to make a mess. You just kind of want to break them up a bit. They are going to fall apart and kind of melt into the sauce, and that's what you want. But we're going to just get it started.
Smells heavenly, Kim.
It smells so fresh in here. You're going to add all of this liquid, and you're going to let this reduce down while we're finishing our gnocchi or whatever kind of pasta you've got going on. This is just going to kind of bubble, simmer down, and reduce the liquid content. And it's going to leave you the most flavorful vegetable sauce for your pasta. I always like to make extra pasta sauce, so that if you want to make some pasta tomorrow or eat it on rice or pour it on your veg tomorrow, it's already made. It's a good cheat. All right, turn this down to a simmer and let this just concentrate in some serious flavor. Next, let's get our gnocchi rolled out. Okay, so this has been sitting, it feels nice. All right, let me show you what the texture is. There you go. Show you that. Nice, right? All sticking together. Okay, now we're going to use a little bit of bench flour. You don't want to overdo it because you don't want to over flour this. You don't want them to get dry, but you just don't want them sticking. I'm gonna break this into, I don't know, quarters and roll each one of these quarters into a long tube, just like you would when you're little and you did Play-Doh. That's what we're doing. I also have a cookie sheet or baking sheet prepared with loose flour, some bench flour on it, and you don't want these guys sticking to each other. So once you're finished them, you want to put them on here separate, not touching, until you're ready to boil everything, okay? I need a little bit more bench flour. Cooking by feel, I love that. Roll these guys out. You want to keep them together. You don't want it to fall apart, so you got to be gentle. If you feel it's going to crumble, just go slower. Push it all back together. It's very forgiving, okay? Lovely, that's working perfectly. Now your only challenge with these vegan ones is that you didn't use the egg, that extra binder, and you're also not using any glutinous flour in this recipe, so you might have to be just very gentle. You don't want them to break apart. You need everything to stay together. Just keep pushing together if you need to, but stretch it out into a nice long tube. Okay. Now that I have it into a nice roll, you have to be gentle, okay? You're gonna take a floured sharp knife and you're gonna cut these into little 1-inch little pieces, very gently, into like little pillow shapes. And then I'll show you how we're gonna make this gnocchi from here. It's very similar to using, the texture is very similar to using a whole wheat flour or even cornmeal, a little bit more gritty, right? So we're gonna take these little tiny pillows, okay? And you're gonna keep them in a little pillow shape. You're going to flour the back of a fork. And you're going to take that little pillow piece and you're gonna just push it down gently down the back of that fork. And the point of this is to make ridges. The ridges are for even cooking, helps cook everything even, but it helps hold sauce. And this gorgeous vegetable sauce we've got going on is going to be just all in here, all in between these little rows. Now, put them on your baking sheet, your cookie sheet, whatever, your sheet pan, and just keep on churning these guys out until you're done with your dough. You gotta be gentle. Just push them down. If you have to reform them, it's okay. Just start back over, push it together, and start again. No problem. These are gonna be absolute nuggets of goodness. Look at them. Nice. Rinse and repeat, maybe 50 times. Now, if you're nervous about doing these or you're not having good success, this dough can tend to be a little more delicate than a regular gnocchi dough because there's no gluten and there's no egg as a binder. So if you want, take your fork, put it on like that so it's got the rounded back like that. You're gonna take your little pillow and you're just going to push it down ever so gently, holding the sides of them so that if it's gonna fall apart, you're gonna keep it together like that, okay? You're really just gonna have to go based upon how your dough feels that day. Also, if you do have egg in here or you have regular flour or another binder, you definitely can boil these guys, right? So I did have water ready, but I'm thinking I'm just going to pan saute these. Everything in here is already cooked. Or you can eat it raw, right? We have the pumpkin that's already cooked, and then you've got the tiger nut flour, which is tasty all by itself. You don't have to cook it at all. It doesn't even have a raw floury taste. It has a beautiful tiger nut flavor, like coconutty and vanilla-y sort of, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to pan saute these. Get a large frying pan prepared and get yourself a couple tablespoons of oil heated up. And we're gonna pan saute these, get them a little crispy on the outside, and we're gonna be ready to go with this gorgeous vegetable sauce we've got going on. Ooh, it's bubbling, it smells so good in here. Nice. They look beautiful. Look at these guys. All lined up in a row with their gorgeous fork marks. All right, I got 50 of them on the nose. 48, and I tested too just to make sure. They are wonderful. Now, look at these gorgeous things. You can freeze these on the sheet just like this. I would freeze them separately and then put them in a bag and keep them very, very cold with some extra flour in there as well. You don't want anything sticking. And when you take them back out of the freezer, you want to make sure that you take them out and lay them out separately, okay, before you cook them. Do not let them get sticky. Now, these, again, these are more delicate. The gluten in flour is what holds things together. We have no gluten, which is awesome, right? But you have to be a little bit more delicate with these guys. So I've got on my stovetop a nonstick frying pan with a couple tablespoons of the tiger nut oil, and we are going to saute these, brown them. I'm going to try to not move them as much as possible. Let them brown on one side, flip them over, brown them. They have quite a bit of sugar content. Again, tiger nuts are quite sweet already, and the pumpkin has sweetness. So you have to kind of watch them, put them on a low heat, especially with the nice hot oil. They'll tend to brown up a lot faster than you would even anticipate. So here we go. That's nice and hot. Make sure the oil is hot first. Now into the pan, do not overcrowd the pan. We're gonna put maybe like, I don't know, 10 or 15 in, just enough for one serving. I'm gonna do one serving at a time, or you can have two pans going, or a big giant pan. But don't overcrowd, okay? Into the frying pan they go. Make sure you have enough oil. All right, get rid of the splatter guard. This has reduced nicely. Look at this thick, concentrated sauce, just full of veg. Look at that. Gorgeous. The carrots help kind of thicken things up and make it just a little bit more substantial as well. If you're going to eat vegetarian, you want to eat and be satisfied. And sometimes that means eating a little bit more. Gorgeous. This is ready to go. I'm pan frying my gnocchi and they'll be ready to go momentarily. These tiger nut and pumpkin gnocchi would also be wonderful with a pineapple, chili, and sage butter sauce. If you didn't mind using the butter, or you could use ghee, because ghee, you know, you could use ghee with paleo and vegan as well. All right, let's do a quick taste test of this gorgeous sauce. Make sure you're adjusting salt and pepper and any other spices you prefer on there. Make sure you're adjusting the salt and pepper, the spiciness of it, or any kind of herbs you want to accentuate. Man, that's good. Fresh, bright, beautiful veg. Okay, I'm going to use one of my mom's tricks. You're going to use 2 spoons. You could use 2 forks. This is how I do my pierogies too. You're going to very gently flip them over with 2 spoons individually to make sure that nothing falls apart. It's a good way to be gentle. That's all. They've browned up beautifully. They smell amazing. They kind of remind me of how you would fry up corn cakes. I love corn cakes. Or arepas even. Very much the same texture as arepas, the dough. These are gorgeous. And the sauce is just going to kind of drench those ridge marks that you've created with the fork so lovingly. Right? Look at them. Beautiful. There you go. Now brown the other side and we're ready to serve. If you see the pan kind of dry, add a little bit more oil. All right, the first batch is done. Let's plate it up. Mom, are you ready to eat?
Oh, sure. I can't wait.
Look at this gorgeous sauce. Zucchini, carrot, veg, oh, tomato, beautiful.
They look gorgeous.
It smells awesome. Into the bowl, I'm going to serve this on the bottom. And then we're going to plate those gnocchi on top so they don't kind of get lost in there, right? I did add a bay leaf to this sauce as well. Make sure you pick that out. All right, nice generous heaping of sauce that you can not only slather your gnocchi in, but you can, you know, eat spoonfuls of beautiful saucy veg. Yum! All right, these look gorgeous. Look at them, all fried up. They're gonna give a nice texture as well. Look at that, Mom.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This would be lovely with basil, again, oregano, thyme, and I'm just going to place them on top of here. Aren't they glorious? Little dumplings of deliciousness. Vegan, paleo, gluten-free. You can still enjoy pasta. These look awesome. This looks amazing. Now you can garnish with Parmesan if you want, mozzarella if you want to eat cheese. I'm just going to garnish with some simple parsley just for a kick of freshness and green. Look at that. Vegan paleo pasta. What do you say about that? Tiger nuts and pumpkin gnocchi. Who knew? You ready?
Yes.
Here, take some. Get a good amount of sauce. That's sauce. Look at these chunks of veg. I love that. Ready? Isn't that amazing? The sauce is perfectly seasoned. And let's try it with the gnocchi. They're light. Definitely not chewy. Oh, they're
Beautiful.
so good. And that sweetness. Unreal sweetness, but not like offensive sweetness. Beautiful sweetness from the tiger nut and the pumpkin.
Not sugary.
Not sugary, but
nice.
sweet in a savory way. If that makes sense. Look at these chunks of zucchini and tomato. What a lovely sauce. Perfect with this.
It's amazing, Kim. What a good recipe.
I don't want to stop eating.
Come join us.
And you know, you're not missing anything. You're not missing out on anything. Let me show you one of these gnocchi. They're beautifully browned and crispy crunchy on the outside. And then when you break it open, you've got this beautiful, cooked through,
Melt in your mouth.
melt in your mouth center. That's moist. That's a really nice contrast.
Yeah. This is one of the most amazing sauces you ever made, Kim.
Really? So
And
easy.
these beautiful gnocchis, they're really lovely. It's almost like you're having meat.
Yes,
You know?
it is meaty.
Gives you that feeling.
A satisfactory, satisfying feeling. You know why? Because you're craving that starch from the pasta, from carbs, right? This stuff here has resistant starch. So it does have starch, but the resistance in it is wonderful because it's not going to just pile on like pounds. Like if you don't burn that extra calories off, how sugars and things like that develop into fats. This resistant starch just goes right through your body. So it really helps with digestion, and it helps with satiating you, making you feel like you really ate something.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And it almost looks like meatballs, doesn't it, the gnocchi with them fried like that. So you got your quote unquote meat and your pasta all in one.
And the whole thing put together is so light. The gnocchis and the sauce. I would serve this to my guests anytime.
I think it's delicious. The gnocchi held together beautifully in the pan. You just have to be gentle. Take your time. This is not a race. Food, you know, this is a food of love.
You came up with a winner, Kim.
You like that, Mommy? Thought you'd like that.
Lovely.
It'd be great with spaghetti, squash in the mix
Yeah.
of the vegetable sauce as well.
And you can't quite tell what the pumpkin is. You know, it's good. I love it. But what is that? You know,
Gives a nice richness, a richness of flavor, a
amazing.
depth, and a good foundation for that tiger nut flour to adhere to make these gorgeous gnocchi.
I'm sold on that flour.
Yeah?
Yes.
You like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna try a few things. I think.
Mommy likes that. It would be nice for cookies or something like that because it has a nice sweetness. So here you go. There's the flour, Tiger Nuts flour. Check out the whole Tiger Nuts line at tigernutsusa.com. And I also use this beautiful raw premium organic first press extra virgin tiger nut oil. Gonna love it. So fun to cook with. And you know what? You can really spruce up your act with your health. Vegetarian, vegan, paleo, gluten-free. We've got everything going on here. This is like a perfect meal.
The thing is, people have difficulty with their diets and
Yes.
changing their diets
Yep.
and things like that. And this makes you feel like you're not missing a thing.
There you go. You heard it from Mom, and she's finicky. Believe it. She's really, really finicky. So that's how you do it. That's how you make a gorgeous tiger nut and pumpkin gnocchi with a beautiful zucchini and tomato pasta sauce. Veggie pasta sauce.
Amazing.
Gonna love it. Follow me on Twitter at Cooking with Kim E with a capital E. Like the fan page at facebook.com/Cooking with Kimberly. My shows are on ifood.tv/Cooking with Kimberly, youtube.com/Cooking with Kimberly. You can find my channel on Roku Cooking with Kimberly, and I'm also syndicated on Apple TV and Amazon. Come to my website at cookingwithkimberly.com and subscribe. Interact with us and let us know what's going on in your culinary world, all right? Be a champion in your kitchen and eat deliciously. Bye.